Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So I'm here today with my good friend the BlackBerry Mobile KEY2. And most of you know this is the latest and greatest flagship phone that we have that has the BlackBerry logo on it. It came out almost 3 years ago. Almost 3 years, that's how old this phone is now. And it got a security patch update again. So now it's running the June security patch update. And if you were to tell me a year ago that we would still be getting security patch updates, at least for the 100-2 model. I know that other models elsewhere are not getting it, and I'm sorry, I wish y'all were. I wish there was something I could do about that, but there's not. But I've still been getting it with this model, and it's very peculiar, but I'm also grateful at the same time because, BlackBerry is synonymous with security, and if you have a BlackBerry that's not secure, you don't have all that same level of comfort and feeling knowing that you have the latest and greatest in the security world, especially when it comes to your phone. The Key1, mine hasn't gotten a security update since April 2019, over 2 years ago. My Motion hasn't gotten a security update since like November of 2019. So it's very frustrating living in the world that we do now, and I have to address the elephant in the room. OnwardMobility said in August of last year we were going to have a new phone the first half of 2021. And most of us loosely thought that meant maybe like March or April or May. I, for the longest time, thought that we'd probably hear or see something around April, probably have a device around the beginning of June. And I believe I said that on multiple occasions. And here we are, it's June 20th. Of course, you may be watching this later. And we still have no phone. In fact, not only do we have no phone, we have not heard anything. We haven't even gotten an official press statement. So it's very frustrating living in the BlackBerry world now because so many of us thought, as we got to this point this year, knowing that BlackBerry 10 is dying, it's going to be end of life January of 2022. BlackBerry's not going to support it anymore. And then on top of that, we have a double whammy because 2G and 3G are going away. And those are the underlying network bands that these phones use to communicate. Now, some phones that are BlackBerries have voice over LTE. And some of them will work with other networks. And we'll talk about that also. But it's a very troubling time for BlackBerry users. And it was like we had this white knight of OnwardMobility come in and save the day with the licensing agreement in August of 2020 saying, come on guys, we got a new phone. It's going to be out next year. Things are going to be great. And we have no phone. And this creates a lot of problems. Not only for people who are BlackBerry users, but for the brand as well. Because what happens if there's no phone that comes out now? What happens if it's been delayed and then your BlackBerry Classic stops working, your BlackBerry Passport stops working, your BlackBerry 8800? What are you going to do? Are you going to go try and find a BlackBerry mobile device that's 3 years old? Are you going to go out there and try and find something else? Are you going to get locked into a 3-year contract with AT&T paying for a Samsung phone? And then when the new phone comes out, you're tied up in a contract? Like, this creates a whole host of problems. And I'm sure that OnwardMobility has to be aware of this. But for those of us who are suffering this because we're waiting for the new phone we thought was going to be here that there's no sign of. And I feel pretty comfortable saying that because it would have passed through the FCC already if it was going to be here before the end of the month. So I can pretty much with certainty say that by June 30th, we're not going to have a new BlackBerry in our hands. That is problematic. And of course, they need to say something. I mean, I think they know they need to say something because apparently the brand is still there. They've been emailing people. So, I mean, they've been returning email feedback. So that's good. I'm glad they've been telling people, hey, we're still here and we're still alive, but we've been expecting a phone. So where is it? And since it's not here and we can't answer that right now, I mean, maybe a press announcement will come out in a week and then we'll have some sort of an answer. But living in the void that we are right now, with the BlackBerry KEY2 apparently still receiving updates in some areas, it sends a mixed signal to those of us who are looking to carry on using a keyboard phone. And what's next? What's out there that's available? I mean, we've got the Unihertz Titan and the Titan Pocket that's coming out in September, so there's a little hope for the keyboard warrior fan base in that department, but we want a BlackBerry. And as much as I've been enjoying using the Unihertz Titan Pocket, it's not a replacement for this. And even just picking up my KEY2 and using it again, I have missed this keyboard so much. It's much better than I remembered it being after having used the one on the Titan Pocket. Don't get me wrong, the Titan Pocket one is very good. I've been enjoying using it, but when you love BlackBerry, there's just not a good substitute that gives you all the same feels whenever you're using a BlackBerry phone. So I do very much like my BlackBerry KEY2. It's a very, very good phone. I'm glad that it has the latest and greatest security patch now for June, but what's on the horizon? How long are we going to continue to get security patches for this phone? Why aren't we getting security patches for other phones? I really wish we were, because the Key2 LE is not getting one either. And the Key2 LE is newer than the Key2. So I don't really understand what's going on behind closed doors in the BlackBerry world, but we're waiting on a phone that we have no information on. We have phones that are dying, that are not going to be any good over the next couple of months, or once January gets here, they're going to be no longer supported by BlackBerry. So it's very precarious, it's very unfortunate, and what do we do? And this is a question. I mean, I've got some ideas. I mean, I could tell you, well, go buy a Pixel. I could say, wait and see if we hear anything from OnwardMobility, but for only so long, and then that becomes irresponsible if you need a new phone. And then there's the whole, well, maybe try something else. Maybe try a Samsung. Maybe try a Pixel. Maybe try an iPhone. I don't know. Those are things that I'll talk about as we move forward and we get more information. But also, it's very hard to get a BlackBerry mobile device that's still good. We know they have quality control issues. I mean, the space bars on the Key2s are not great over time. And then the Key1, I mean, it's even older. It's like a 4-year-old phone now. It came out in 2017. So it's very frustrating living with these older devices. And then if you want to go pick one up, people are charging an arm and a leg for them, especially the Key2s. And then they try to pass off the red Key2 LEs on the resale market as an actual Key2, and they charge you over $1,000. Like, people are seriously selling these brand new BlackBerry mobile devices for over $1,000 in some situations, especially the red models. So moving forward, I think right now we're still kind of in a holding pattern. And as we hopefully hear something soon, I mean, I've said for the longest time that OnwardMobility has to say something by the end of the month. If they don't come out and say, here's the phone, they need to come out and say, here's why there's not a phone by July 1st, because the time frame they promised us the device will be over by then. It's one of those things where it's like, you can see the writing on the wall, like the car is headed towards the bridge that's, vacant and it's going to go off a cliff, but, Dad's still driving the car saying, don't worry, it's fine. And you're like, no, but the end of the road's right there. And it's like, no, we're good. So something has to give here soon. And there's just like so many different areas of uncertainty. And the one area we thought was certain has turned into also another uncertainty, which is this new device. So hopefully we'll hear something soon. If we don't hear something soon, then I think that's even more troubling, because not only are they not communicating what's going on with the device and they will have passed the time that it's supposed to be here, but beyond that, it's really hard to trust a brand that's not transparent and does not communicate things even when they have these timelines that they put out there. I mean, it's basically been radio silence for months and months and months. So I know a lot of you are frustrated. I'm personally frustrated. Those of us who are carrying around the phones, who care about the brand, this is a very frustrating process, because at least before we were able to maintain the status quo. Your BlackBerry 10 device was still limping along well enough. But now AT&T and T-Mobile are cutting the legs out from under that. No more 2G, 3G, you got to get another phone. And then AT&T, adding insult to injury, will not allow the ones that support voice over LTE on their network. Like, they're going to support the Prib and the Key1. No Key2, no Key2 LE. You're going to have to go to T-Mobile, Mint Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, or maybe even Verizon with the Key2 LE. So, moving forward, I'm going to do my very best to keep you guys up to date, informed with my thoughts and opinions on how we should proceed moving forward, what phones might be good alternatives. Because if they come out and OnwardMobility says, hey, we'll have a phone ready in 6 months, well, do you want to wait for that phone for 6 months? Do you want to go to AT&T and sign up for a contract for 24 or 30 months when it comes to installment agreements? I mean, there are a lot of things that we'll have to decide moving forward, because you may not want to tie yourself up in a contract knowing there's a device coming down the road and then trying to get out of a contract with AT&T for their phone. You don't have to deal with that. So still playing the wait and see approach. Hopefully you've got a Key2. If you do, hopefully it lasts for until we need it to last, which is important because these BlackBerries aren't getting any newer. I still think that the Key1 is probably the best option for most people with regard to keeping a keyboard phone, but also something that'll still run everything because it's running Android 8.1. So there is that. Or a Key2 LE, I think, is the best for most people if you can find one at a good price. But kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to see what happens, waiting for something from what seems like a mothballed OnwardMobility, because they haven't told us anything. And we're waiting on them. The ball is in their court. The phone is supposed to be here. It's not. So we need a game plan moving forward. People have decisions to make. Like, we have life decisions to make. Some people have been holding on to a phone for 3, 4, 5 years, and then found out there was going to be a new one and said, okay, I can make it another year, that year is up and there's no new phone here. So I will have thoughts and opinions and suggestions on possible other devices, possible solutions that we can use short term if we need to wait a little bit longer. But ultimately, it's kind of hard to move forward until we know what the landscape looks like and until OnwardMobility says something. And I still maintain that I think that they basically have to say something by July 1st. They, one, if they're not going to meet the deadline, need to tell us. And then two, out of an obligation to their fan base and the people who are waiting on the device, need to be transparent and tell everybody what's going on. I mean, that's really my thoughts and feelings on the matter. This has been a long time. I waited for months and months and months and months. I held out hope, but then it's like, there is 10 days left, 9 days left, and we have heard nothing. So, it's very frustrating at this point. I know you guys are frustrated. I feel it. I hear it in the comments all the time. And, these are my thoughts and feelings as well. So, I think that we will hear something soon. It may not be what we want to hear, but at least, knowing something is not better than knowing. I still believe that they're working on something, but at this point in time, it's, they need to let us know what's going on. So that's all I've got in this video. Sorry, it's a little venti, a little frustration let out there. It's just, my sympathy and my heart goes out for the brand and those of us who are still trying to keep the keyboard phone world alive, because we have this promise of a new phone and we're still holding on to our old phones. And some people, I know you guys are out there using a Priv. I know you're still using a Passport. I know you're using a Classic. I know you're using a Key1. And we're waiting on this promised land of a new device. And it's not like, oh, we're just like our hopes and dreams and maybe it'll happen like it's a pipe dream. There is literally a licensing agreement in place for this phone that they said would be available now. So I think it's understandable for there to be a certain level of frustration. I think it's understandable for a certain level of concern when it comes to the trustworthiness of the brand. But it is what it is, and we have to try and hope for good things. But in reality, we have a architecture of phones that's crumbling. A foundation of phones that is average lifespan is years and years old. It's not a spring chicken. So we'll see what happens. I will stay up on this topic. I'm sure I'll be talking to y'all by July 1st because I fully expect there to be some sort of a statement or announcement soon. I mean, there pretty much has to be. I mean, I'm not a grand wizard here. It's just, if they don't meet the deadline, I mean, that's probably a statement enough if they don't say anything. So that's all I've got in this video. Stay strong. Keep up the fight for the brand because, of course, we love our keyboard phones. And we'll see what happens from here. But I'm here for you guys, and I'll keep bringing it as often as I can and give you the information that I have as soon as I get it. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.